You know what, Purple Pill? The reason I disagree with you is it's kind of semantics. I mean, well, it's kind of technical, right? So let's just play out what you said, right? If we were billionaires, the way I would see it, right? I would literally, I wouldn't have multiple wives. I would have a wife and multiple women. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So there would be no need to legally bind myself to multiple women. You feel me?
Yep.
So I
Well,
understand the
that's
spirit of
one way
what you're
to do it.
saying, but technically I wouldn't marry all of them. I would just
So
let
so
the one
so
know
how
that shit, it is what it is.
so how I personally would do it is I would like that's one way of doing it where you have like your main and then you have your bitches. But the way I would do is I would
What?
like a more sister wife thing where I would have like four or like three or four like all on a farm and we're all working together and have all of our kids all babysitting together and stuff. And I wouldn't have a bunch of bitches. I would just have
You
two or three
why
women
can't
or
you do
whatever that
that
I
with
really
multiple
love.
bitches?
But yeah,
Well, I don't see what the
I
difference.
wouldn't do that because I wouldn't do. I mean, we're just talking about theoretically, like
HBIC head in charge. Anyway, yeah, no, seriously. What my cousin was saying in the video was that my dad told me that same story. So my dad grew up on a farm. His father was a farmer, and my father was the fourth in line. And they ran out of money to send him to school, so he worked on the farm with his family, with his father. And that is actually very common. The more hands you have, the more crops you can do. Like all of that's going on. And it's not always that the men actually marry the women either, but it is built for an economy. So men actually do take women on. I don't really want to use the word concubine. They won't legally marry them. They won't bind themselves to them. But the father died in whatever family, maybe some woman he went to high school with. She will actually approach you. She'll come to you like, listen, I don't want my kids to go wayward. I will come under your protection. They will work on this farm. And he took them in and he actually built something for them. So these are stories that I heard throughout my life. And multiple wives usually ended up with it meaning manpower. And like he said, wealth building. It was a wealth building tool. None of us, is anybody a farmer here? Like, you know what I mean? None of us are farmers. I think Sean Antonio was right. The model we would, if I had billions, I could house all my joints. That's about it. That's all I would be doing. You get a penthouse. You get a penthouse. You get a penthouse. None of y'all gonna see each other. None of y'all are gonna talk. Y'all not gonna conspire. I'm gonna be here on Tuesday. They're on Wednesday, but I got to be home with my kids before dinner. But that's how most men would do it if we had a chance, especially in America.
Yeah, I think Purple Podcast is trying to be
I had to
the.
add this. I got to add this. I'm sorry. Non-disclosure agreements all over for everybody.
You feel me?
Yeah, I think Purple Podcast is trying to be the new David Koresh of 2023, man, with all these goddamn wives and this on.
I think one more point of emphasis, marriage in general overseas is well, let's just say in certain parts of Africa and certain parts of Asia, including India, they see marriage completely different. It's a union between two families. It's completely different than a union between two individuals like we do here. So I think we need to keep that context in mind as well.
uh, I want just to give y'all a little fact. Do y'all know how many the guy who had the most children? Do y'all know what the number was?
Is it 590?
I think his name was something the Impaler, maybe Vlad the Impaler, something the Impaler, and it was 888. And do y'all know what the woman was that had the most children? What the
100.
number was? It was 69. She had 69 kids.
Why
And
69? She should have had one more.
I think 69 was a great number to end it on.
Damn. That's service. She should get a medal. Thank you for your service.
All right. Go ahead, Louise. Did you chime in yet?
How do you remember the names? Hold on. We got to. How do you remember the names of 69 of your children?
I think you remember it, man. I think Nick Cannon already had a problem with it. So
Oh, boy.
go ahead, Louise.
I'm pretty sure that Nick Cannon has all his kids' baby moms and all his kids' name written down somewhere, and it's part of his daily schedule. But no, look, I think that in theory it's a interesting idea, but unfortunately, I don't know how that really works out, especially in our sort of westernized economy world, right? But I would say this: if everything went to shit tomorrow, like everything crashed, like there's no more internet, like power grid is all messed up, right? We literally have to start over from scratch. Now, I would dare to ask how many people would opt in, how many women would opt in to align themselves with the biggest and strongest man in order to survive. I think that the conditions that are set within the society at that moment will present different outcomes, right? Times is good. I mean, we talked about this before. Times is good. There aren't many major wars being fought and people dying and stuff. So I think times are a little bit more harsh compared to previous generations back. But if we had to do a complete restart, I think that the way that many people would approach marriage and dating would be completely different.
I think if we had to do a complete restart, then the institution of marriage probably wouldn't exist, because we wouldn't allow it to exist because we're too educated to allow it again.
Okay. Master Moga, what you got?
My opinion, it would be done for. Like, we would just get rid of that entire doctrine.
Absolutely. Because I'm mad at the guys who allowed it to come to be anyway. I mean, to be honest, it should be like NBA contracts. You know what I'm saying? Give me a player option. You know what I'm saying? A 2-year contract with a player option. You got to prove yourself every year. You know what I'm saying? So,
where do you think marriage came from?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Go ahead, Master. What are your thoughts about it?
Personally, I definitely think marriage came out in a time where there was maybe, the economy wasn't as big. So, when the economy is not as big and there aren't that many options for women, it's kind of like, somebody has to be there to protect them or take responsibility, because we're talking about a time where there weren't all these, there was just farm jobs. So really the people that were working were the people who were able to lift things, able to actually do the physical work. So I feel like that's where it stemmed from. It stemmed from a time where things were less financially abundant. But I definitely understand where you're coming from as far as saying you would do away with it. But I feel like if we had less resources, the same thing would happen all over again.
All right, go ahead, Master.
Yeah, 100%. Sending a lot of love to everybody who's sharing, making valid points. Me, I'm always going to come from a different level of perspective. That's just what I do. I'm thinking you can have multiple wives as long as you're in alignment with your assignment. You understand? Like, if your assignment is to have multiple wives, you can have multiple wives, right? For me, I think most people operate on the sense of either looking at the history of something or looking at what is now. I like to look at the possibilities. I don't see why you can't have multiple wives. I think you could create any world that you want to create around you, as long as you do it with intention, right? So it's not about what's right or wrong. It's about what's workable and non-workable. And I think most people operate from the past. For me, I think that comes from like a schooling or a habit thing. Like when you're in school, most likely they talk about history, or when you're around family and friends, they talk about what was. Me, I'm always about what is right now. I think that if you operate in the present, you get gifted with things. So like if you are talking to a woman who clearly understands your mission, who clearly understands your goal and your assignment, you can get women to do anything. You can get women to do anything. That's how I believe. But what I think is most people think about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wives. Maybe just 2, maybe just 2. That might be workable in this day and age. But once again, honestly, you create whatever you want. You want multiple wives, get multiple wives.
Yeah, I agree with them. If you can get 2 or 3 solid ones, if you can get brain change desire, and there's definitely girls that will do that shit. There's tons of girls that will do it. So I agree with you on that for sure, man.
But what would be the benefit to having multiple wives as opposed to a wife and multiple joints? If there's no legal benefit, if there's no financial benefit, if I can.
I want to jump in there and say something. Oh, my bad. He's still going.
Yeah, keep going, Sean.
Sean, if you got a phone call, you probably got to go back out and come back in. It's probably there's something with the audio. Go ahead, man. I said why he coming back in.